Hey there, and welcome. If you're just getting started with Python, you're about to meet your new best friend in the coding world. Today, we're diving into one of the most essential and powerful tools you'll ever use, the Python list. So, here's what we've got on the docket. First, we'll nail down what a list actually is. Then we'll get hands-on with creating and measuring them. After that, we'll cover the 3 golden rules that every list lives by, explore all the different kinds of stuff you can put in them, and finally, we'll figure out when a list is the exact right tool for the job. Okay, let's jump right in. What exactly is a Python list? Well, think of it as the very first container you'll reach for when you need to organize data. And trust me, it's called foundational for a very good reason. At its core, a list is just an incredibly versatile container. It lets you group a bunch of different items together and then refer to them all with a single name. Yeah, you can literally think of it like a shopping bag for all your data. Okay, so theory is cool and all, but let's get our hands dirty, right? Now that we have an idea of what a list is, let's look at the first thing every coder learns, how to actually make one, and figure out how big it is. This right here, this is the way you're going to see it done 99% of the time. It's so simple. You just type a name for your list, an equal sign, and then put all your items inside a pair of square brackets with commas in between. That's it. Okay, so you've packed your list, but how do you know how many things are actually in there? Well, Python gives us this super handy little function called len, which is just short for length. So, when we ask Python for the length of our fruit list, what do we get? Boom, 3. A super simple, super useful way to check the size of your collection at any time. Now, before we move on, I want to show you one other way to make a list. You can use something called the list constructor. It looks a little different, but it's really useful for when you need to convert another type of data into a list. The one thing you got to watch out for here are those double parentheses. That's not a typo, it's actually part of how it works. All right, if you really want to master lists, you have to understand their personality. See, every Python list has a personality, and it lives by 3 simple, non-negotiable rules that tell you exactly how it's going to behave. Rule number 1, lists are all about order. The first item you put in will always be the first item. The second will be the second, and so on. If you add a new item, it doesn't just go anywhere, it goes right to the end of the line. Everything stays predictable. Rule number 2, and this is a real superpower, lists are changeable. In programming, we call this mutable, which is just a fancy way of saying they're not set in stone. You can create a list and then later on add new things, get rid of old things, or even change an item that's already in there. Super flexible. And rule number 3, lists have no problem with duplicates. You can have the exact same item in your list 2, 3, or 100 times, and Python is totally cool with it. Each one simply gets its own spot in the ordered line. And here's a perfect example of that in action. See how apple shows up twice, and so does cherry? No problem at all. This is awesome for stuff like, say, keeping a list of votes, where you'd expect to see the same name pop up over and over again. So we keep saying lists are flexible, but what does that actually mean? What can we cram into one of these things? Well, the short answer is just about anything. You can have a list of text, which we call strings. You can have a list full of numbers. You can have a list of true or false values. Or, and this is where it gets really powerful, you can have a list that's a mix of all of them. You know, lists are fantastic, but they're not the only tool in Python's toolbox for storing groups of data. And like any good craftsperson, you need to know when to reach for the hammer versus, say, the screwdriver. And that brings up a really, really important question for any developer. Just because a list can do the job, does that mean it's the best choice? Knowing the answer to this is what separates good code from great code. Okay, think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. You can see our good friend the list on the top row, yes, yes, and yes to our 3 rules. But then look at a tuple. It's ordered, it allows duplicates, but wait, it's not changeable. Or how about a set? No order, and no duplicates allowed. This chart is perfect for seeing the trade-offs at a quick glance. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. Think before you type. First, look at your data. Do you need order? Do you need to make changes later? Are duplicates okay? Then you might think about things like performance or security, and only then do you pick the perfect collection for that specific task. You know, this really brings us full circle. This quote pretty much nails it. As we've seen, because they're ordered, changeable, and can hold duplicates of anything, lists are an absolutely fantastic, all-purpose starting point for organizing data in Python. All right, so we've just handed you the keys to your first and maybe most important programming tool. You know what it is, you know its rules, and you know how it compares to the other tools in the box. The only question left is, what amazing thing are you going to build with it first?